My parents chose my sister over me, refusing to let me attend the best college in the city. Instead, they took her on a family vacation and left me behind. I cut ties with them, and now, for years later, they want me back. Hello everyone, I never thought I would be the kind of person to cut ties with my own family. But sometimes, the people who are supposed to love you the most end up being the ones who hurt you the deepest. My story isn't about a single moment of betrayal, it's about years of being overlooked, dismissed, and finally realizing I was never a priority. I grew up in a household where everything revolved around my younger sister, Emma. She was the golden child, the one who got all the attention, all the praise, and all the support. I wasn't neglected in a way that was obvious to outsiders. I had food, clothes, and a roof over my head. But when it came to emotional support, encouragement, or even the simple acknowledgement that I had dreams and ambitions, my parents always fell short. Despite this, I worked hard in school, determined to make something of myself. My dream was to attend the best college in our city, a school I had worked tirelessly to get into. I spent years studying, sacrificing sleep, and pushing myself beyond my limits. When I finally got accepted, I thought my parents would be proud of me. I thought this was the moment where they would finally see my worth. I was wrong. When I told them the news, their reaction wasn't excitement, it was disappointment. My father sighed, and my mother gave me a tight-lipped smile before exchanging a glance with him. Then she said something that shattered me. We were actually planning a family vacation that summer. It's not the right time for you to be going off to college. At first, I thought they were joking. How could a vacation possibly be more important than my education? But the more I argued, the clearer it became that they had already made up their minds. They weren't just postponing my enrollment, they were refusing to let me go at all. You can always apply somewhere else later, my father said. Family comes first. But family, in their eyes, didn't include me. It meant Emma. She had been asking for a trip for months, and this was their way of indulging her. Instead of celebrating my achievement, they expected me to stay home while they took her on the trip of her dreams. I begged. I pleaded. I even suggested that I could defer for just a semester and work in the meantime, but nothing changed. They saw my future as something they could put on hold indefinitely, as if it wasn't important. The realization hit me like a punch to the stomach. My parents never intended to support my dreams. No matter how hard I worked, no matter what I achieved, I would never be their priority. Emma always came first. That night, I made a decision that would change everything. If they weren't going to support me, I would support myself. I wasn't going to let them hold me back just because they saw me as less important. I packed my bags and left. It wasn't easy. I had no real plan, no safety net, and nowhere to go except a friend's couch. But I refused to be trapped in a family that saw me as an afterthought. If they didn't care about my future, then I would build one without them. What hurt the most wasn't leaving, it was realizing that they didn't try to stop me. They didn't chase after me, didn't call, didn't check if I was okay. They left for their vacation without a second thought, posting pictures online of their perfect family getaway. That was the moment I knew. I wasn't part of their family anymore. And honestly, maybe I never really was. Leaving home was supposed to be the hardest part. But the real pain wasn't in walking away, it was in realizing my parents didn't care. Days passed, then weeks, and not once did they reach out. No calls, no messages, nothing. They had made their choice, and I wasn't part of it. At first, I told myself they were giving me space, that maybe they thought I needed time to cool off. But when I saw the pictures of their vacation, smiling, happy, like I had never even existed, I knew the truth. I wasn't just forgotten. I was erased. With nowhere to go, I crashed at a friend's place for a while, but I knew I couldn't stay there forever. I needed to survive on my own. I found 2 jobs, mornings at a coffee shop and nights cleaning offices. The hours were brutal, but I saved every cent, determined to reapply for college the next semester. It was the only thing keeping me going. Then, just when I thought things couldn't get worse, I got a message from an old classmate. Hey, I thought you should know. Your parents are telling everyone you ran away because you were out of control. At first, I thought it had to be a mistake. But when I called them, they told me everything. My parents weren't just ignoring me, they were rewriting the story. According to them, I had chosen to leave because I was rebellious and ungrateful, because I didn't appreciate everything they had done for me. They made sure that if I ever tried to reach out to family or old friends, no one would believe my side. I was furious, heartbroken. But the worst part? Emma played right into it. A few weeks later, someone sent me a screenshot of a post she made online. Some people just love playing the victim. Imagine having amazing parents who give you everything, and instead of appreciating it, you throw a tantrum and run away because you didn't get your way. Some people don't deserve family. The comments were even worse. People sympathizing with her, telling her I sounded toxic. One of our aunts even commented, "She'll regret this when she realizes what she lost." Lost? I had lost everything. And they acted like I was the one to blame. I wanted to respond, to scream the truth for everyone to hear. But I knew it wouldn't matter. They had already decided who the villain was in their story. Nothing I said would change that. So I did the only thing I could. I disappeared. I deleted my old social media accounts, blocked every number connected to them, and focused on surviving. I worked until my hands ached, studied whenever I had a free moment, and after months of exhaustion, I finally did it. I got accepted again. This time, I didn't need their approval. I didn't need their support. I had built my future with my own hands. Starting over wasn't easy. I moved to the city with barely enough money to cover rent, juggling school and work just to get by. There were nights I cried from exhaustion, days I wondered if I had made a mistake by leaving. But every time doubt crept in, I reminded myself, going back was never an option. For the first time in my life, I was free. No more being second to Emma. No more waiting for my parents to love me the way they loved her. I was finally building a life that belonged to me. Years passed. I made friends, found stability, and let go of the bitterness, at least I thought I did. I never looked back, never checked up on them, never reached out. They had made it clear I wasn't part of their world, and I had no interest in proving otherwise. Then, out of nowhere, they found me. It started with a message from an unknown number. Just a simple, "Can we talk?" I ignored it. Then another. And another. Until finally, one night, I picked up a call from an unfamiliar number. The moment I heard my mother's voice, my stomach twisted. "We miss you," she said. "It's been too long." I didn't answer. I didn't know how to. Then she said something that sent chills down my spine. "Things aren't the same anymore. We need to talk about Emma." Something was wrong. Her voice didn't carry its usual confidence, the subtle arrogance that always made it clear she thought she was in control. For the first time in my life, my mother sounded uncertain. I almost hung up. Almost told her I didn't care. But then she whispered, "It's serious. Please, just hear me out." I stayed silent, gripping the phone so hard my knuckles turned white. "She's not doing well," my mother admitted. "We thought she had everything, but things have fallen apart. We don't know what to do anymore." I should have felt something. Maybe relief that their perfect daughter wasn't so perfect after all. Maybe satisfaction that they finally saw what it felt like to be helpless, to watch someone you love slip through your fingers. But all I felt was suspicion. Because if Emma was struggling, if their golden child was failing, then why were they calling me now? They had made it clear years ago I wasn't family. I wasn't worth their time, their support, their love. So why, after all these years, did they suddenly need me? And more importantly, what had Emma done that was so bad they were willing to crawl back to the daughter they abandoned? I sat there, phone pressed against my ear, not sure whether to laugh or cry. My mother's voice sounded desperate, something I hadn't heard in years. I'd been the one who had been desperate, the one who had pleaded for their love and support, only to be rejected and ignored. And now, after everything, they were calling me. But not for the reasons I wanted. Not for the closure I had hoped for. They wanted something from me. "Emma's been struggling," my mother repeated, sounding even more fragile. "She's not the same. I don't know what to do. You're the only one who can help her." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. Help her? After everything? After the years of silence, the lies, the abandonment? And now they wanted me to be the savior? I could feel my blood boiling as I took a deep breath. The old, angry part of me wanted to hang up and never speak to them again. It would have been so easy to walk away, to stay true to the decision I'd made all those years ago. But then something else, something cold and calculating, crept into my mind. What had Emma done to make them turn to me? It wasn't just curiosity that kept me on the phone, it was suspicion. They had always loved Emma more than me. Even when I was doing everything right, when I was excelling, they always pushed me aside for her. But now, she was struggling and they thought I could fix it. I don't know what you want me to do, I said, my voice flat. I wasn't going to beg them to care. I wasn't going to ask why they hadn't reached out before. There was silence on the other end. Then my mother whispered, I think she might be in trouble. Real trouble. She's made some choices I don't think she can undo. I don't know who else to turn to. I sat there in shock, trying to piece together the cryptic words she was saying. What choices? What had Emma done? Was this the same perfect daughter they had praised all these years? What's happened? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. I needed the details. I needed to understand why they were coming to me now. My mother hesitated, then continued, she's in debt. She's been lying to us about everything. We thought she was just going through a phase, but now we don't know who she is anymore. She's broken our trust in ways I never thought possible. I felt a strange rush of emotions, relief, satisfaction, but also confusion. This wasn't what I had expected. Emma, the golden child, the one who could do no wrong, had failed. And now, after all the years of pushing me aside, they wanted me to fix her. I realized then that my parents hadn't changed. They hadn't reached out because they had learned something. They reached out because they were desperate. They needed me to save their image, to fix the daughter they had adored and protected for so long. They couldn't bear to face the truth. They had given Emma everything, and now they had nothing to show for it. It was laughable. So now you want me to help her? I repeated, my voice barely above a whisper. I heard my mother's breath catch, and I could almost feel her guilt through the phone. Please, she begged. You're the only one who can get through to her. She listens to you. She used to look up to you. I paused, the memories flooding back. Emma had always looked up to me, until she didn't. Until she took the place I had worked for, until she became the one everyone doted on, the one everyone believed could do no wrong. But now, that image was shattered. Emma was no longer the golden child. She was broken. I had to admit, part of me felt good. Part of me felt vindicated. But another part of me felt pity for her. And for myself. I had spent years working to escape them, to build something for myself, and now I was being asked to return to the very same toxic dynamic that had once broken me. I can't just fix her, I said, more to myself than to my mother. You don't get to call me after all these years and expect me to step in. Emma is your responsibility, not mine. There was another long silence. I knew she was trying to find the right words, trying to make me feel guilty. But I was done feeling guilty. Please, my mother said again. We need you. I shook my head, feeling the weight of everything that had happened. I wasn't going to fall for this. They hadn't changed. They were still using me as a last resort. I don't think I can help you anymore, I replied, my voice firm. You made your choices. Now you have to live with them. For a long moment, there was nothing but silence. Then my mother whispered, I'm sorry. The words were empty. They didn't mean anything. They never did. I ended the call and sat there, feeling a strange sense of closure wash over me. For the first time, I realized I didn't owe them anything. Not anymore. I had moved on. I had built a life without them, and I was proud of it. I took a deep breath, staring out the window at the city below. Emma was no longer my concern. My parents' desperation was no longer my burden. I was free. For the first time in my life, I could truly say that. And I wasn't going back.